Jo. Ačiū labai, aš galvoju, visi maždaug atėjo, tai pradėsim už 2 minučių, o dabar aš paklausiu, kas jūs esat ir kokia kalba kalbėsim. So, is there anybody who doesn't understand Lithuanian language? You're still thinking about that, right? Yeah, I guess I'll present in English for recording purposes, bet kol mes pradėsim, gal aš paklausiu visgi, kas jūs esat. Ir svarbiausia, ko iš čia atėjot. Tai ar jūs atėjot sužinoti, kaip daryti žaidimus, nežinau, moterims? Gerai. Ne. Ar jūs atėjot sužinoti būtent, kaip dizaininti žaidimus su diversity in mind? 1, 1,5. Gerai. Ar jūs atėjot sužinoti, kaip kurti diverse komandas? Gerai, aš vis bandau suprasti, ko čia atėjo beveik visi žmonės. Nes tai yra svarbu.
Paklausk, ar jūs esate čia, nes jūs čia jau buvote?
Ne, aš mačiau, kad žmonės pasikeitė. Tai kažko atėjo. Gerai, nes man labai svarbu žinoti, apie ką pasakoti jūsų jokių fokusų. Ar jūs tiesiog atėjote todėl, kad čia Šiuos iš Kingo? Ne? Jo, maždaug Šiuos iš Kingo. Nu gerai, Šiuos iš Kingo, tai Šiuos iš Kingo. Aš tai ir pasakosiu. Supratau. Gerai, kas dirba žaidimų industrijoje? Aha. Kas nori dirbti žaidimų industrijoje? Aha. Kelis pakėlė, kelis aš atpažinau. Šaunu. Gerai, kas žaidžia žaidimus bent 3 kartus per savaitę? O jeigu skaityt mobiliuosius žaidimus? O, tada visi, gerai. Tai salė teisinga, maždaug tai tikiu, kad mano tolkas bus įdomus. So with that, let's actually start. Yes, so the diversity talk. Diversity is a very broad term, and people see it and hear it from very different angles and put very different things in it. And in most cases, all these people with different opinions of what diversity is, they are all right. So in this talk, I'll touch a very small piece of the whole diversity subject. I look into it from a very narrow perspective, pretty much from my perspective. I'll speak mostly about my own experience. So we'll talk about how I met diversity and liked it. But let's see who this guy from King actually is. So I'm originally from Ukraine. I lived 6-7 years in Lithuania. This is why I know the language. Yeah, and now I live in Sweden at King, so you can see the evolution, right? I worked at Unity. When Unity was a small 20-people company, I worked at Game Insight when they got here in Vilnius. And then King stole me, put me away, and moved me to Sweden. Now, this slide has a joke about fabric softener. Does anybody, I was just flying over Alps and I thought, like, why don't I put a joke into my slides? Does anybody know a joke about fabric softener? Does anybody care about millennials? This is a nice subject. So if anybody cares about millennials or about this joke, just look into my Twitter. There is a pinned link to Wall Street Journal that explains the joke about millennials and fabric softener. It might be a funny joke. But let's start actually the diversity thing. So this is me right here in Čiurlionio menų mokykla. And this is Sari, she's a ballerina. Quite professional one, she actually dances at the Lithuanian National Theatre of Opera and Ballet. She's 12. The reason I'm here speaking to her, because they actually have game development class exactly in the ballet school. And and we at King, we have something we call community days. It's like a regular working day where you can do whatever you want for good. So I thought doing something for good of ballerina is actually a good thing. So I'm explaining her how games are made. I'm showing her Defold, like the engine and stuff. She even understands some of that. And I'm trying to use this time to understand the way she feels games. She's an avid PS4 gamer and the like. So I'm trying to understand what's in her mind. How does she perceive games? I cannot view games from the eyes of 12-year-old. She can because she's 12. So I learned a lot, but the main learning here was that she doesn't like playing games from her laptop because laptop discharges very fast. I'm like, come on, like plug the laptop into the power outlet, it wouldn't discharge. The thing is, as a young mind, she grew up with a smartphone in her hand. Do you plug your smartphone into the power outlet when you use it? You don't. That's the use habit of a portable device in her mind. She actually didn't understand my like plug the laptop into the power outlet, it would work, you could play. That's it. And then I thought like, wow, so maybe this desktop, standalone games won't live that much anymore when she grows up. Those are also my kids. Those are a bit older, 20-something. I was called to a school in Stockholm. It's called Future Game School. I was given 16 game designers into their second year, and I was asked to teach them free-to-play whatsoever. The school didn't know why they called me, so I had to come up with my own idea. I gave them our game engine, Defold, that we use at King, and forced them to split into groups and actually create games, and then create free-to-play games according to the free-to-play rules, as in, the dog year, like the funeral, users, like why those games, like with persistency in mind, with operations in mind. And then they were summoned to King office in Stockholm to defend, like to show their games and to defend their games ideas in front of King people, like Defold team, King producers, King employees, since it's very, very interesting for us at King to view the world with the eyes of the young minds. We cannot do this ourselves, right? I mean, we're industry professionals. They are students, but the task they were given is to create whatever they want with the free-to-play games rules in the heads. Like, how to create a free-to-play game that is interesting to play, persistent, and still, earns money. We learned a lot, both as a tools company, right? Like the Defold team hanged out with them, and those are again game designers, very non-technical people. So it was very, very interesting. Obviously, it was coordinated with HR people, and Stockholm is a place where we have electronic arts, DICE, Paradox, Avalanche, Unity. So we kind of fight for these minds. So that's also a good example of how working with younger crowd results in something very useful. And that's my favorite slide. This is also in Vilnius at a Switch conference. And I'm camping on the stage. So I'm sitting on the edge, and there is a reason for that. I was given a huge hall. This is Lit Expo. I was given a huge hall of kids, 9 to 13 years old, and I was to explain them, like to present them whatever game development, like what it is, why. So I was talking about creativity, about, pretty much the next big thing will be created by a young talent like you. And the huge hall, 9 to 13-year-olds, did you try to present something to kids, right? What they do, it's like that. The huge hall, they're all playing games on the phones, on the tablets. It was the hardest work of my life. And it resulted, like, by the end of the talk, when I kind of got the feeling, the connection to the audience, the kids with their tablets and phones, they went in and started, camping by the stage like it was a rock concert. Tremendous feeling. And, like, to appreciate the kids camping, like, right here, I sat with them. So then I spent a lot of time with the kids. And I actually also learned a lot the way they consume the content, the way they choose the games. Like, what does it take for a kid to persuade a parent, for the in-app purchase? Like, they have to pitch the in-app purchase to the parent and what works, what doesn't. It is important for us as well because we actually make free-to-play games. And yeah. But you're saying, okay, this guy tells, like, yeah, work with kids, kids are good. In a way, but what I'm really trying to say is that working with people of very different backgrounds, that's actually what is helpful for the game. So this picture is from our Defold training in Stockholm. We do trainings for King employees, for King developers. But those trainings are, in most cases, they're open to general public. So anybody could appear and, join the training. Those are kind of, you have to program on this training, so you have to know the drill. And we attract very, very diverse people to these trainings. So the reason I have this slide here is that on this training, I had a chance to speak with engineers, like professional old dudes. I think they were professors in some science academy. So let's call them scientists. So the way scientists think about games, what is interesting, what are the cool game mechanics, is something that I, with my 8 or 9 year experience in the industry, those mechanics were unheard to me. The way they perceive games, the way the games they want to create are so different. So what I'm trying to say here, that working with people of very different mindsets, of different backgrounds, of different age, of different sex, of different culture, of different religion, actually helps to create better games, helps to see the world through consumer eyes. And this happened in Malaysia. I was there on a business trip, and Malaysian government actually assembled students and teachers from their universities in Kuala Lumpur, and I did a default training for them. The logic was very simple, like for Malaysian government, like King. It's a rich company, they know how to make games, let us assemble as much as possible, so we get the training. And they have a dedicated city to bureaucrats, and they had, imagine that. And then they had a dedicated city to whatever scientific technologies, it's called Cyberjaya. It's near Kuala Lumpur, so that's what is happening. But the reason I have this slide here is you can see the crowd in the room is quite diverse. They're very different. Males, females, different age. You can see their different culture. You can see from their laptops, this is their own laptops, right? So they are of different, let's call it wealth. So very diverse people, as diverse as you can only imagine. It was about 50 of them, and it was single myself, doing a technical thing around that with very broken Wi-Fi, because that's what you have in Malaysia. And obviously, some of them were more advanced, some of them were less advanced. So what happened there is that those on the front line, those who could keep the pace, instead of standing up and saying, "You are boring, you're too slow," instead of that, they just silently stood up and helped people around them to keep up with what I was talking about. Because I had about 3 hours, and then I had to go to the airport. So I announced that, and I did announce that, you know what, it can be rough. So I think here that what we in our, Western cultures, in our, developed countries, the problems we are trying to solve, these guys might have nailed it already. So now let's take a small pause and think about a small recap. So there is a very nice talk about diversity and how to design diverse games by Kik and Christine. It's free on the internet. You can easily find that. So I won't cover it here today. But that's a GDC talk. Just Google that. Also, there is a very helpful link. It's easily seen, especially from the last row. So, yeah. But let's take a moment to recap. I stated today that diversity has many angles and aspects, and that I'm focusing just on a very few of that. I did state today that working with young talent is crucial once a company claims to be a global player. Also, I did state that as a global company, it's crucial to attract and retain talent from all over the world and help people blossom within this company, for these people to blossom within the company with their culture and skills. Now let's think about the reason I'm stating that. Gaming used to be a geek culture, the niche entertainment thing. Like people used to play consoles, and it has been like that for ages. But I don't think it's the case today. I don't think gaming is a geek culture now. So, I mean, you've seen your mom playing games, you've seen your dad playing games, you've seen your kids playing games, you've seen people, like totally non-technical people playing games. So, and all these people, they don't have, this geek background, they don't treat themselves as gamers. And in most cases, like, let's be fair, they don't really care about gaming culture. They don't understand why a plumber needs to save a princess. They don't get the joke about another castle. They don't have this background. However, they want to play games. And they want to understand, like, if they do understand the game, if they do feel the game, they play it, they enjoy it, and they pay, right? That's what we kind of all want. So that people enjoy your game to the state they actually leave a few monies out there. So what I'm stating here is that gaming used to be a geek culture, now it's not anymore. And in order to appeal to the global audience in our society, in China, in Japan, in Brazil, there is lots of people out there. They are very different. In order to appeal to all of them, we have to create the games that are appealing, the games that they understand. So it is about art, it is about diversity, it is about inclusion, it is about culture. You kind of have to think how to create a game that people can relate to it, even they are of totally different age, sex, religion, background, and pretty much, live in Australia or somewhere else. In order to achieve this, you have to have the people in your team who understand different cultures. But if you cannot afford that, since it is very hard to get people, to get a very diverse game production, you can at least spend the time, and whatever, take your game and bring it to school, take your game and bring it to some institution, show it, like, or even rent a booth here at Login and show your game and get these opinions, get the feedback from the real players, not from industry professionals. So that was my take, and while you're digesting it, let me show you some of the examples where working with diverse teams helps. So this is Eva. Eva from Sneaky Box, she's based in Kaunas. And on this picture, that's picture from Game On in Vilnius. She's showing the game that she was involved in. She's an artist. So the art that you see, this is her art. We at King contracted them to create a project to teach non-technical people game development. So this, say the slide from Malaysia, we use this project. Bit and Byte LT, the initiative here in Vilnius and Kaunas, who have 150 kids, they use this project to teach kids programming and game dev. And that's a lot more. So she was involved in that. She created the art, she created the level designs, she implemented this in Defold as well. And this is Maria. Maria is from Cheboksary. Does anybody know where Cheboksary is? Wow, how comes? This is Republic of Czechoslovakia. Why would you know that? So yeah, now she lives in Moscow, and the whole project was her idea. She's a narrative designer and a writer, and she uses this project to teach writers, like science fiction writers, book writers, to teach them game development. And she uses the project, and this is like screenshots from her game. But what I'm trying to say here, that by using with these two brilliant women, we were able to deliver a project that is likable and understandable by people of totally different backgrounds. From Malaysian students to Russian book writers, and well, Lithuanian kids as well. Like the setting and the type of project appeared to be very appealing. So I treat this as a great success. I don't think I would have achieved it without them. Now let's take a case from more King-ish case. So that's one of my favorite teams, if not the favorite team. Yeah, probably this is my favorite team at King. So they use Defold for a huge and beautiful game that gonna get live very soon. I really hope to bring them here for Game On, since that's when they are releasing the game. So there is, imagine, internal playtest within King. King, is a 2,000 people company, so we test games within King first. So imagine a huge hall just like this, maybe bigger actually. And these people are on the stage. That's the first time when they're showing the game, to the crowd. They're very nervous. And then King CTO appears on the stage, And the first thing he tells is not about the game, but about how proud he is about the diversity of this team. The producer is from Brazil. They have people from Ukraine, from Russia, well, obviously from Sweden and other countries. And this team, and that's a quite small team, I think there are 17 now. They were able to create the game that people totally fall in love instantly. Probably my favorite take from the game that unfortunately I cannot show you today, but my personal take is that most characters in the game have real-life prototypes from the team from within King, like Pink, Baboon, Dima, and alike. So it's quite fun. It's quite fun, and that's a good example how different cultures can work together, and how we're proud of it at King. But let's move closer to what we do at King to actually help different people with different backgrounds, with different cultures, work together. So we have various processes. We have various initiatives. We have, rules at King, so that King is a great place to be and a great place to work. And let me actually list quite a few of that. My favorite one, the one that kind of, changed my mind instantly, was the onboarding brochure. So when I started to work at King, I was given, the start pack, the box with stuff, and there was a leaflet pretty much with do's and don'ts within the company. The thing that totally changed my mind was a brief sample of a bad joke. So there were samples of bad jokes, right? And one of that was if your colleague is leaving at 4 p.m., it's a bad joke to tell him or her, hey, are you taking a half day off today? Just think about that. The work culture the time person spends in the office is strictly between the person and the manager. You are not allowed to judge that. And there is many, many more that, like, processes and culture things that allow different people to thrive. Someone has to pick kids from kindergarten. Someone has elderly parents, to watch after, and the like. You cannot judge that as long as they deliver to the project. So we have women at King Initiative. We have like lots of different things with a single result that, everybody can provide their feedback. That whatever a junior, let it be HR person, can talk to a senior game designer about the game and provide the feedback. Like, this is normal. We have to do that. Totally different take on the culture is food. Like when you order food for the office, like for some reason. Within King, it's in most cases like when you have whatever festivity, there would be, gluten-free option, nut-free option, lactose-free option, all kind of options so that different people with different food allergies can join the festivity. What I personally enjoy, that I don't have to drink alcohol drinks when there is a festivity. There is always, a bottle of something that looks like champagne, so it's not, a juice that you don't feel like totally, in the corner. So I have my non-alcohol thing, and I can pour it, in the champagne glass and still feel part, of the crowd. Like, I know you're smiling, but this is because, well, what do I do if I don't like alcohol? Do I stand by my computer desk when everybody is, celebrating, or do I celebrate with a cup of tea? Right? So while you're thinking, what would I drink for a festivity? Let me show you a video of internal conference. So for a 2,000 people company, we have internal conference. We know the charter jets from different offices fly into a single location. So here's the video from the conference that happened in Stockholm. I hope we're going to have a video, sound. Yes.
Welcome to another legendary King for Market adventure. This is another lifetime memory to chalk up.
This info market is a really important one. It's about ambition and it's about innovation.
Innovation is a hot topic. It really is.
Innovation just needs to suffuse everything we do so that we don't stand still and just think that the way we did things yesterday is good enough for tomorrow as well.
So I think innovation is going to require us to loosen up our belts in some of our processes, perhaps. We've done it before, and I'm very sure we're going to do it again.
At the Funky Meet today, we talked a lot about diversity and inclusion. I love the fact that we've been working on this for a few years now. It's great to see that it's something that's driven not just within HR, but also outside of HR.
What's really interesting is to see that people are talking about it, not only within the Funky Meets, but they're taking it out of those sessions and mingling at coffee machines. So it's been talked about at a lot of different levels, which is really interesting.
Here at King, we take diversity very seriously, and we're very proud of having a diverse work culture.
It doesn't matter who you love, as long as you love.
I came from Activision Blizzard. I've been following King for quite a bit of time because I was involved in the acquisition. So I'm super excited to be here and just get to know the company and everybody around.
Briefly, Defold is a game engine which is very easy to use creatively and express your ideas in, but also takes care of performance, so making sure that whatever you make in it will be able to ship. It's a great way for people to see more what it's like to make King-style games and try it on their own.
I'm just trying to find that L shape one.
This kind of thing.
There's a lot of things that we've learned so far. We've also shared with the QA folk here. So I think opening up these doors and creating these relationships is extremely important.
Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, 4.
The whole nub of the exercise is all around making different groups work together in perfect harmony and have a lot of fun. Because Infomarket is all about coming together and having a wonderful time with your team.
King is a small place. It's always going to be a small place. And the reason it is a small place is because it really starts with the people. And the way that you affect it is you have to have an opinion and you have to share it. And everybody does that. And I think it demonstrates itself in every interaction. A lot of our colleagues are talking to each other and we're pushing each other, but it's also in an incredibly playful way. And so we live it, we make it, and we just get to see it when we're here at Infomarket.
Gaming is an art form as much as it is a science, and there's a lot of areas we need to experiment. There's a lot of places we can improve by trying something we haven't done before. And innovation means not being afraid to do that.
Yeah. Happy people with a feel of ownership, with an ambition for global impact, agile thinking people, open and fun. That's what the culture is within King. And this is how we manage to create games that are appealing globally. And I hope this talk would put some things, some thoughts in your head, and you will start making better games. With that, I thank you for your attention.